What's going on, Go Squad? This is another episode in the series of Operation Training Day where we try to break down the barriers and the stigmas of what firearms training is. This episode, we highlight Charlie Melton and Charlie Mike Precisions. We were fortunate enough to meet Charlie at the Antares Alliance Try and Buy during SHOT Show of this year, and we spent over an hour with Charlie on that Sunday prior to SHOT Show and shooting and talking and all that. And we were blessed enough to have Charlie invite us down, and so we took the trip down to Normandy, Texas, which was a little over 7 hours for me. Not a bad trip at all. We got to hang out with Charlie and Marley and their dogs, and Rod and Shelly Gates from the Gun Cleaners, and obviously Clover Tack and That Guy's Wife Media. We all hung out, had a great time, got some shooting in, got a class in the long range, and it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. But let's talk about Charlie Mike Precision. Now, Charlie Mike Precision is not just a training class. They're also a custom gun company, whether it's handguns, carbines, long rifles, anything and everything that you guys want custom built or modified. These guys are well equipped to do whatever you want to any of your firearms at the highest level possible. But we're going to focus on this episode on the training side of Charlie Mike Precision. So those of you that may not know who Charlie Melton is, he is a 25-year retired Navy SEAL who broke the world record at the longest shot at the time of 5,000 yards. And he has attempted a couple times in the last month or two at 6,500 yards, which is a little over 3.5 miles. And due to some weather and some equipment malfunctioning, he was not able to hit that, but he plans on going this next January, the week prior to SHOT Show, out to Vegas, and it's going to attempt 7,000 yards. You ask, what does a 7,000-yard shot look like? No one knows. No one's ever taken that shot before. So Charlie's going to attempt that, and he's using a 408 Tejas chambered rifle built by Tejas Rifles and Brad Starr, and it's a beautiful gun, as you can see here. It is just... it's the coolest long rifle I've ever seen in my life. Now, most of you know that I consider myself relatively proficient with handguns and carbines, and most of my training and most of my experience levels are from, let's say, 500 yards and in. I've only taken one shot in my life over 1,000 yards, and that was at 1,200 yards with a friend of mine's .338 Lapua. And luckily for me, it was already sighted in. He'd already hit it a couple times. We knew what the weather conditions were. All I had to do is literally step up, pull the trigger, and I hit it. But I am very long range ignorant. I am not going to sit there and say that I am anywhere near proficient in the long range. I'm a beginner, but it's something that I've been wanting to kind of get into. So I decided while I was down there with Charlie that I wanted to shoot some long range stuff. The Charlie Mike Precision Long Range course is a course that is a 2-day course. The cost is $1,000, and I can tell you from what I experienced this weekend, he could probably charge double that, and it would still be worth it. My experience was phenomenal. I had a great time. Like I said, I am completely ignorant when it comes to long range, when it comes to terminology and dope and all of that. My dope was at 500 yards with iron sights in the Marine Corps. I was never a long range guy. And this weekend opened my mind and my eyes to a whole nother world that I am vastly interested in, and I'm going to dive right into trying to get into the long range game. But as far as the long range course through Charlie Mike's Precision, you're going to learn gun safety, principles of marksmanship, how to correctly set up your long rifle, which is something for me was interesting to watch because, like I said, I have no experience in it. So teaching the class how to correctly set up your rifle was extremely beneficial for me because I don't even own a long rifle, much less know how to set one up. So he allowed me to use one of his this weekend. But listening to him on how to easily set it up, it was great. You're also going to learn the environmental effects on shooting, how to choose ammo and gear, and there's so many more things that you're going to learn through this class. We'll talk a little bit later. As far as the equipment list for the long range, you're going to need a rifle with a long range scope capable of shooting at least 1,000 yards. You're probably going to need a bipod. If you have access to a spotting scope, they're probably going to ask you to bring that. I know that they've got one or two of them themselves, but if you have your own, then it's probably the best thing to bring it with you. You're going to need a shooter log book for each rifle that you bring. If you want to bring 3 or 4 different calibers and different styles, whether it's bolt action or AR platform, whatever you want to bring a log book or a dope book, whatever you want to call it, per rifle that you bring. They're recommending a shooter sock or a buttstock bag. Obviously, hearing and eye protection. Now, it might get interesting during the Texas heat because it was extremely hot there while we were there. Obviously, end of June is going to be a hot time in Texas, but they're asking you to wear long pants and closed-toed shoes and to bring 200 rounds of match-grade ammo and try to make it the same brand and grain all the way through, so you're not having to worry about different grain weights and how they're going to react to the different elements. So bring at least 200 rounds of the same grade and grain. So as far as the course goes, like we said earlier, it is a 2-day course and the cost is $1,000, which is a steal for what you're going to get out of it. So day one, what you're going to start out with is, as you saw earlier, a 1 to 1.5 hour classroom instruction series at the shop where they're going to go over his principles of shooting and how to practice them and really try to build muscle memory and learning the environmental effects on shooting. The great thing about this is whether you're a absolute beginner or an experienced long-range shooter, you're going to get something out of this instructional period. For me, it was wonderful because I got to learn a lot of the different, once again, the principles of long-range shooting, but also how to adjust things if needed. After that part of it, then the cool thing about the instructionals, they go through how to set up your rifle and make sure it's set up correctly, and they get you to sight in and all of that, and make sure that your mechanics are proper before you even get out to the range. But after they're satisfied that you know how to do all that, then we head out to the range. Once we're at the range, then you're going to start out at the steel plates at 100 yards, and they're going to make sure that with live fire that your principles and your mechanics are sound and you're getting tight groups. Once they've seen and they're satisfied with your mechanics and your groups, then what you're going to do is you're going to hit steel targets that they have set up every 100 yards, and you're going to go out to the 500-yard mark. Not only are you going to go out there and try to hit the steel every 100 yards, but you're also going to be able to write down your dope for every 100 yards, what the wind conditions were. They're going to teach you how to use your log book so that you have that dope for future reference with the wind conditions, what your holds were, and all of that stuff to where that'll help you in the future. And the great thing about this is while you're doing this, they're going to be coaching you the entire time. So ask questions. If you want to sit there and talk about different things, him, Philip, and Dustin, they're all going to be there to make sure that you're getting the best experience out of this and you're learning as much as you can. So that is the time to really ask the questions that you want. Now, once you get done with the range on day one, then hopefully you get to experience the fine cuisine that Charlie and Marley will have. If you're lucky enough for them to be able to cook for you, then that's an experience in itself. It's wonderful food. So the next day is obviously day two, and after a wonderful breakfast, hopefully cooked by Charlie, if you get that experience as well, you get to head out to the range. And since you've already gone 1 through 500, then you start the 600-yard marker. And there's, like I said, there's steel at every 100 yards throughout the range, and you're going to shoot every 100 yards to get out to 1,000. Once again, they're going to be working on your mechanics, and they're going to teach you about wind calling and the different effects of the winds and different environmental effects have on the projectile, because once you start getting out to those yardages, the wind and the different effects, whether it's heat, whether it's humidity, whether it's whatever it is, they're all going to have effects on those bullets at that time. So they're going to teach you all of that, and they're going to get you out to where you're hitting 1,000 yards. Now, the cool thing for me is on Saturday, I got to shoot at 1,000, and the wind was blowing. I'm not kidding. The storm was rolling in. The wind was gusting up to 30, at least 30, even more than that. I know they said they had gusts at 46 miles an hour, but that was later on after we left when the storm really hit. But the wind was blowing, about 30 miles an hour when I was shooting, and I got to shoot, 25, 30 rounds at 1,000 yards. And with the wind and me being very much of a novice, it was very difficult. I got really close a lot. Clover was spotting for me. Charlie was spotting for me, making the calls and telling me where to hold. And it came down to the last bullet, and I was holding 30 minutes right at the target because the wind was blowing so hard, and that was as far as the scope would go. So I was holding 30 minutes right at the target, and I pulled the trigger. I felt like it was a good one. We never saw the impact and all that, but I didn't figure I hit it. So I went that night saying, man, I was so close. I was really excited that I got that close at 1,000 yards with those conditions. The next morning, Philip came out and said, yeah, he checked the target on the way in that morning, and there was a hit. So my very last shot, I did hit it at 1,000 yards with 30-mile-an-hour wind. So that in itself was a miracle, and it was all thanks to Charlie and Clover for helping me out. And man, it was an experience that I'll never forget. So it was such a great time. The instruction was wonderful. It's laid back. It is to the point. And like I said, if you have questions, there isn't a dumb question out there. Trust me, I asked him what I thought were dumb questions, and he answered all of them and made sure that I understood reason why he was giving those answers. So it was a wonderful experience all in all. So guys, I really want to express my thanks to Charlie, to Philip, to Marley, and everyone at Charlie and Mike Precision for having us down there, welcoming into their home, taking care of us, feeding us, and obviously the firearm training is phenomenal. I cannot recommend them more to anybody. If you're looking to really up your game in the long range or carbine or pistol, the next call needs to be to Charlie Melton and Charlie Mike Precision. Please check them out at their website, www.charliemikeprecision.com. Check them out on the internet, on their social media, and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And be on the lookout next January, guys, for Charlie hitting a 7,000-yard shot. It is something that's never been attempted, and knowing Charlie, he'll get it, and it'll be a record that is going to be very, very difficult to ever surpass. Once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. We hope that you enjoyed it, and we hope that we got a little bit of information about Charlie and Mike Precision. And be on the lookout for more videos down the line. We talk about more about the firearm customization and the rifle building part of Charlie and Mike. Thanks again for watching, guys. Semper Fi.